Your person was involved with someone else, but now they have an important message for you that will shock you. My beloved child, pause for a moment and listen carefully, because the message reaching you now is not ordinary. It carries a truth that has been waiting for the right moment to find you. There was a time when the person connected to your heart was walking beside someone else. Their attention was divided, their emotions confused, and their path uncertain. From the outside it may have seemed like they had already chosen another direction, as if the story between you had quietly faded away. But what you could not see were the silent moments when your memory returned to them. The quiet evenings when something inside their heart reminded them of you. The small, unexpected signs that kept bringing your name back into their thoughts. And now, something has shifted. The connection they once tried to ignore has grown impossible to silence. What they once kept hidden inside their heart is slowly rising to the surface. They have realized that the feelings they tried to place elsewhere never carried the same depth, the same calm, the same meaning that your presence brought into their life. This realization did not come easily. It arrived slowly, like a truth unfolding piece by piece. And with it came an important message, a message meant specifically for you. Don't skip this moment, because something huge is waiting to be revealed. What they are preparing to say may surprise you more than you expect. The words forming in their heart right now are not casual thoughts. They carry honesty, reflection, and a realization that has been building quietly behind the scenes. And very soon, the message they've been holding back will begin to find its way to you. My beloved child, there is a moment in life when truth quietly rises above confusion, when the heart finally speaks after a long silence. This is one of those moments, and it is arriving closer to you than you realize. There was a time when the person connected to your story walked down a path that did not include you. Their attention was drawn towards someone else, and from the outside it looked as though their heart had already chosen a different direction. For a while, even they believed that was the path they were meant to follow. But the heart has a way of remembering what truly matters. Even during the moments when they stood beside another person, there were quiet thoughts that kept returning to you. Memories would appear unexpectedly, a laugh you once shared, a conversation that felt effortless, a feeling they could never fully explain. Those memories did not fade. In fact, they grew stronger. Something within them began to whisper that the connection they once placed aside had never truly disappeared. It was simply waiting for clarity, waiting for the moment when the noise around them became quiet enough to hear it again. And now that moment has arrived. What they have realized recently has surprised even them. The feelings they tried to place elsewhere never carried the same depth that existed between you. The comfort, the understanding, the natural bond, it was never truly replaced. Don't skip this moment. Stay with this message until the end, because something huge is unfolding behind the scenes. Right now, they are gathering the courage to say something important to you. Words they once kept hidden are slowly forming, and when you hear what they have to share, it may change the way you see everything that happened before. But the most surprising part is still ahead. Something unexpected began unfolding within their heart when the quiet moments became impossible to ignore. At first, they tried to dismiss it. They told themselves that the past was already settled, that life had moved forward, and that the chapter involving you had already closed. But the more they tried to silence those thoughts, the louder the truth inside them became. Little reminders kept appearing in the most ordinary moments. A place that brought back a memory. A song that felt strangely familiar. A sudden thought of your voice or your smile when they least expected it. And with every reminder, a realization slowly formed. The connection they once stepped away from never truly lost its meaning. The person they were involved with could offer attention, conversation, even companionship. But something essential was always missing. Something they could not explain at first, but felt deeply within. It was the feeling they had only experienced with you. This realization did not arrive with drama or sudden chaos. Instead, it came with clarity. A quiet understanding that the heart sometimes needs distance to recognize what truly matters. And when that clarity appeared, everything changed. They began reflecting on the moments they once overlooked, the depth of your connection, the sincerity you carried, and the way your presence made them feel understood without effort. For the first time in a long while, they allowed themselves to admit their heart had never completely let you go. Stay with this message, because what comes next is even more surprising. The realization alone was powerful, but what they decided to do after this discovery is the part that will truly shock you. Then one quiet evening, a realization settled over them with a calm they could not ignore. They began to look back at everything that had happened, not through confusion or pride, but through honesty. For the first time, they asked themselves a question they had avoided for so long: what if the connection I walked away from was the one that truly mattered? That question changed everything. They started to see your story together from a different perspective. Moments that once seemed small suddenly felt meaningful. Conversations that once passed quickly now carried a deeper weight in their memory. And slowly, another truth appeared. The person they were involved with had been part of their journey, but not the center of their heart. That place, the quiet space where real connection lives, had always carried your presence. This realization did not come with noise or drama. It arrived gently, but with undeniable clarity. For days, they kept this understanding to themselves. They thought about reaching out, then hesitated. They wondered if too much time had passed, if you had already moved forward, if the door between you had quietly closed. Yet every time they tried to move on without saying anything, the same feeling returned. There was something important they needed to tell you. Not to rewrite the past, but to finally speak the truth they had kept inside for far too long. Don't skip this moment. Stay with this message, because something huge is waiting just ahead. Because the words they are preparing to share are not ordinary words. They carry reflection, sincerity, and a realization that could change the direction of both of your stories. And what they are about to admit is something they have never said out loud before. And then, in a moment of complete honesty with themselves, they finally stopped running from the truth. They realized that silence had been easier than admitting what their heart truly felt. For a long time, they convinced themselves that moving forward meant forgetting you. But the more they tried, the more they understood something surprising. You were never truly absent from their heart. Your presence remained in the quiet spaces of their mind, in the small details of everyday life, in the way certain memories would suddenly appear without warning. It wasn't dramatic or overwhelming, it was steady, gentle, and impossible to erase. That realization changed the way they saw everything. They began to understand that the connection between you was never about timing alone. It was about a feeling that felt natural, sincere, and deeply real. And once they accepted this truth, something inside them shifted. Instead of pushing the thought of you away, they began allowing it to guide them. They thought about the conversations you once shared. The moments when understanding flowed without effort. The rare comfort that only a genuine connection can bring. And with every memory, their heart became clearer about one thing. They needed to speak to you. Not with confusion, not with hesitation, but with honesty. Stay with this message, because something huge is waiting just ahead. The message they are preparing is not just about the past. It is about the realization that some connections return to our lives for a reason, even after distance and silence. And the words they have been holding back are finally ready to be spoken. But just when they thought these feelings would quietly fade again, something even more surprising happened. A moment arrived that made them pause and truly reflect. It wasn't loud or dramatic, just a simple realization that appeared with unusual clarity. In that moment, they understood that the connection they once stepped away from had never truly lost its meaning. You were still there in their thoughts. Not as a passing memory, but as someone whose presence had quietly shaped the way they understand connection, honesty, and emotional depth. They began to see that the time they spent with someone else had not erased what they once felt for you. If anything, it helped them recognize the difference. Because some connections feel temporary, while others leave a lasting impression on the heart. And the one they shared with you belongs to that second kind. For a long time they kept this realization private. They wondered whether reaching out would feel unexpected. They questioned whether you would even want to hear what they had to say. Yet the message forming inside them kept growing stronger. Not a message filled with excuses, but a message filled with truth. A truth they had taken far too long to understand. Don't skip this moment. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. They are preparing to share words that come from reflection, from growth, and from a place of sincerity that was not present before. And when those words finally reach you, they may carry the kind of honesty that changes the way you see this entire story. Because what they are about to reveal next is the reason they can no longer keep their feelings silent. Just when the silence felt too heavy to ignore, a decision finally formed within them. For so long, they held their thoughts back, wondering if speaking up would reopen a chapter that was already finished. They questioned whether their message would arrive too late, whether you had already walked too far ahead to hear it. But the more they reflected, the clearer one truth became. Some messages are meant to be spoken, no matter how much time has passed. They began to understand that what they felt for you was never something shallow or temporary. It was a connection that carried understanding, calm, and a sense of being truly seen. And once they recognized this, they could no longer pretend it meant nothing. The involvement they once had with someone else slowly lost its place in their heart. Not because of conflict, but because their emotions had begun to move in a different direction. Toward honesty. Toward clarity. Toward you. Now they find themselves standing at the edge of an important moment. The message they are preparing is not complicated, yet it carries deep meaning. It is built from reflection, from lessons learned, and from the quiet realization that some people remain important even after distance appears. Don't skip this moment. Stay with this message until the very end, because something huge is waiting just ahead. The words they are about to share are simple, but powerful. And when you finally hear the message they have been holding inside, it may surprise you in a way you never expected. Because the truth they are ready to admit now is something they once believed they would never say. And now, the moment they once feared has turned into the moment they can no longer avoid. After all the quiet reflection, after the memories that refused to disappear, and after the realization that kept returning to their heart, they finally understand the message they need to share with you. It is not a message filled with complicated explanations. It is a message of truth. They want you to know that even during the time they walked beside someone else, a part of their heart kept remembering the connection they had with you. Not as a mistake, not as a temporary feeling, but as something genuine that never truly lost its place. They have realized that some connections cannot simply be replaced. They can be ignored for a while, misunderstood for a season, or pushed aside by circumstances, but when they are real, they quietly return to the surface. And that is exactly what has happened. The message they are preparing for you carries honesty they did not have before. It carries the courage to admit that the story between you was never as simple as they once believed. Something meaningful was always there. Stay with this moment, because this is the part where the truth becomes clear. They are not reaching out to rewrite the past or pretend nothing happened. Instead, they want to acknowledge what they have finally understood, that your presence in their life left a mark they could not erase, no matter how far they tried to move away from it. And now, with a calmer heart and clearer mind, they are ready to say the words that have waited for the right moment. The message is simple, yet powerful. You still matter to them. And the connection they once stepped away from is the one they now wish to understand again.